Hey everyone, welcome to AWS Connections. I'm Nick Raboy, a lead developer evangelist at Here Technologies, and on my right we have.
Hi, I'm Michael Palermo, also an evangelist with the developer relations team at Here.
Awesome. So this is our first ever episode of AWS Connections. So this is a new series. You probably remember that I was on Developer Waypoints, which just recently closed up. But on AWS Connections, we're going to be focusing on the different types of interactions with Amazon. And I can actually let Michael explain a little bit more on that since he'll be kind of the showrunner here.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, we're really excited about this. AWS Connections is all about factoring how location terms, location services, calling the Here APIs are relevant within many of the AWS features. So for example, in this episode, we're going to be discussing Amazon Lex, but in other episodes, we could be looking at other features, whether it be SageMaker, Greengrass, something IoT. We're just going to showcase all the different reasons why you should care about location services within those particular features or environments.
Awesome. So just some logistic information here. So we are live. We encourage you to ask a ton of questions as we go through this episode and every future episode. We do have a few mods in chat, so I wanted to highlight a few. I believe we have J12Y, which is Jason Delancey, Babs D, which is Dylan, and then Mallory Lux should be in the mods in chat. So if you have any questions at any time, go ahead and ask them. I'll be in chat as well, and I'll relay this information on to Michael. We also do have Peter. So where are you at, Peter?
I'm here.
Oh, hey.
I'm in the booth.
He's going to be kind of the voice in the shadows for us, right, Michael?
Yeah. Thanks, Peter, for joining.
Michael, you're welcome. I'll be running the show in the background. If there's anything I need to say, I'll pop in, but I'll be silent for most of the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So
I'm out.
Awesome. See you later, Peter. So we actually do have a bot in chat as well. So it's called Nightbot. So using Nightbot, we'll be able to give you certain links that are useful throughout today's episode. It'll also filter some of the links that people provide, just in case. Try to keep it on point. But beyond that, I kind of want to talk about where we're going with this particular episode. So what's the plan today, Michael?
Well, first of all, before I even get started with what we're going to be doing today, I do need to do a shout out and say I've watched every single episode of Waypoints. You've had an amazing first season. I really learned a lot, genuinely. I enjoyed moderating on those particular episodes. It was a blast. It's kind of fun to be on this side of the screen now, but I want to just formally tip my hat to you and Peter and say, excellent job on Waypoints. I can't wait for what you guys are going to do next.
Awesome. Thanks for the feedback, Michael.
Absolutely. So here's the thing. For this very first episode of AWS Connections, it was my passion that I wanted to chat about something near and dear to me, and that was how easy it could be for anyone to start developing their own chatbot, and of course with the slant of using location terms and services. So that was my inspiration for this particular episode, to get into Amazon Lex and understand what you would need to do to design and implement code in order to accomplish a simple use case scenario. So, Nick, here is the use case scenario that we're going to discuss today to make this possible. The situation is we need to find the Here evangelism team. Each person on the team, we need to find them. They're all being tracked with a GPS location, and we're going to basically locate them, and through a chatbot, we're going to be able to ask where they are.
So is this like a microchip that you guys put in my skin when I got hired?
That's correct. This is a very top secret thing. So actually, to put the spin on it for everyone, essentially, this could be anything that's trackable, right? I chose to track team members, but this could be IoT devices. If you were going to repurpose this for something that's probably far more beneficial than just understanding where the Here, developer evangelism team members are. Also, the other thing that I think is really important to highlight for everybody on this call, or on this episode, think of it this way. You don't need to have any experience with building a chatbot. I am going to start from scratch so that you can see all the steps necessary. And I think Nick is going to probably challenge me a few times. I don't know what his experience. Literally, I haven't even asked you that, Nick. Do you have any experience building a chatbot? Seriously.
I have no experience building a chatbot. I do have a little bit of experience with virtual assistants. That's about it.
Okay. So maybe you might learn a little something, Nick, but definitely ask questions along the way. And also, as Peter and Nick both mentioned right there in the chat, if you have questions as we're going through things, please address those. And Nick will be that representative of all those questions that are being asked so we can make sure and address them to the best of our ability.
Absolutely.
So, Nick, are you ready to start?
Yeah, man, I'm getting excited.
Here?
Jump right in, man.
Okay, so let's switch to the very first screen. This is where we're going to be looking at how to get started with here. So right now I'm at the developer portal, developer.here.com. And what I want you to observe is in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, I have already logged in. So you will need to sign in. You could click this Get Started for free, or Peter, go ahead and throw a link right there into the chat so that people can just click on it. And once they do and sign up, once you have signed up, what you would do is go to your projects. So you might think, I just signed up. What do you mean projects? Well, you still will have a projects. And when you click on it, it's going to give you the ability to see what all projects. And I currently have a freemium project that I'm going to click on. And you'll notice that this is where I have now this JavaScript REST API keys. So this app ID and app code are related to me expressing that I wanted those to be done for JavaScript and REST. If this is your first time here, you'll see a button similar to this generate app ID and app code for the Android SDK starter. So does that make sense, Nick?
Yeah, it makes sense. Me? And we don't have to be worried about exposing our keys, right?
Well, we should be worried about this. Of course, for demonstration purposes, I want to make sure it's very simple and easy for everyone to see how to do this. We, of course, can repurpose and recycle these pretty easily. But if you are doing this, you don't want to share your app ID or app code in general. So thanks for highlighting that.
But we could always lock them down. We could always whitelist them for certain domains, right?
Sure. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So the reason why I'm providing this is that at some point in our journey today, we're going to need these two values. So when I say, hey, recall at the beginning when I said app ID and app code, so what you do typically is copy these or either keep this window open or copy these to a text editor somewhere. So they're available for use soon. So now on to the next. I'm going to click on the AWS Management Console. Now, right here, I'm at the console home screen. I am signed in with AWS. So this is a good point for me, Nick, to talk about kind of what the prereqs would be for those that would want to replicate this if they choose to do so. You would need to have the Here developer account. You would also need to have an AWS developer account. Those are the two accounts that you must have. So any questions there, Nick?
There's no other account dependencies. It's just the two?
Just those two. The only other kind of dependency I would say you might need is it probably is helpful to have a measure or degree of development experience with JavaScript and or Node. But when we get to those places where code is required, I'll highlight some of the things that stand out. But so that might be helpful. But as you'll soon see, you could still do all of this and do a lot of copy and pasting with some resources we'll provide later at the end of this episode. But for right now, let's just follow along to see what would it look like to create your own Lex chatbot. So in this in this Amazon console, I'm just going to type Lex and choose Amazon Lex. Now, granted, I'm going to just pop out here and show you. I could have just clicked on this link, but I'm just saying if this is your first time even to the console, this is an easy way to find it by just typing in Lex and choosing this first one.
So is Lex a new technology from Amazon? Is this something that they recently released?
It's not necessarily like that new. It's probably along the lines of it's been around just I think a little bit less longer than Alexa has been, but within about the same time frame, relatively speaking. But it is a fantastic way for you to create a bot. And well, I'll ask you this question, Nick, just to see what your opinion is. If I say the word bot to you, what does that make you think of?
Like an automated assistant, almost, maybe?
Yes. And I think you said the key word. Bots really translate to let's create some form of automation and take a human out of where they may have had to do the actual resourcing and allow a bot to kick in and do that process and automate it. So that's what we're referring to with a bot. Now, I already have one that's created. I may choose to go to that at some point later in this episode, but I would like to create a new bot so you can see how easy it is to get started. So I'm going to click create with bots selected over here. And there's a variety of different options that I have, much like any other resource, Nick. When we're creating things within development platform environments like this, they usually give you the ability to say, hey, do you want to have something that even has some sample data already there? But I'm not going to choose that one. I'm just going to go with custom bot. So I'm choosing to start from scratch.
Got it.
Now, my first bot that I created was called Where Bot because I'm interested in where. Just for kicks, I'm going to call this one Here Bot, which is not where, but here. It might be an answer. The next thing I need to do is choose my output voice. Now, what this means is that bots can actually have a voice associated with it, for things where you're actually going to be interacting with a voice assistant. But that's not what we're going to do. We are creating a text-based only bot.
Got it.
So this is when you interact with in an environment where you are already typing. I'm going to set the session timeout to 1 minute. And down below, we could keep the I am rule the way it is, but down below when it says COPPA, what that's referring to is, am I really designing this bot? Am I intending it to be used for children? And the answer is no, right? However, if you were creating an automated bot and that was the case, then you would want to make sure that it's in line with that children's online privacy protection.
So I have a question real quick. What exactly is the session timeout? What value does that add to the bot?
Excellent question. What that refers to is there's going to be interactions between the bot and the ultimate end user. So
Sure.
if a period of 1 minute goes by where there has been no interaction, then that session will time out. It'll assume that it's not in one anymore.
So it's interaction between the user and the bot, not the bot and the logic.
That's correct.
Got it. All right.
Excellent question. Thanks. So you ready to create this?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. So we're now inside the Here bot. You could see that that's listed here in the upper left-hand corner. And you'll notice that one of the most important things you need to do right away is you have to create something called an intent. Have you heard that term before, intent?
I have, through my experience messing around with Amazon Alexa.
Yes. So what do you recall about intent? I mean, just in general.
So it should be the kind of intent to do some kind of logic, right?
That's correct. And when we're talking about conversational user experience, an intent means we're talking about what the user intends to, how they intend to interact with the bot. So we're going to create an intent right now. And now in this pop-up box, I'm going to click Create Intent. And I use the nomenclature or naming guideline style. For me personally, it kind of follows what you see at the end where it says Get Drink Order. But in my case, what I want to do is I want to name this something that is going to reflect what it is that we want to do. So, for example, if I say get location name, I'm kind of saying let's get a location for someone by their name.
So you naming it like kind of like the CRUD stuff, like create, retrieve, update, and delete?
Yeah, yeah. So sometimes it's helpful for developers the first time they've ever gone into designing any kind of voice or conversational UX to understand that an intent ultimately kind of looks and feels like a method call, right? So that's the intent name. I'm going to go ahead and add that intent.
Oh, it already exists.
Nope. Get location by name. How about that?
So then why would have it already existed if this is a new Lex project?
That is a fascinating question, Nick.
Is it a reserved word maybe, or maybe it has access to your other projects as well?
The likelihood is that it's possible that multiple bots could share an intent,
Got it.
right? So if that's the case, then I, cannot have any naming clashes between those bots of mine. I'm gonna go with that's what I think it is, but I will have
All
to
right.
be honest. I'm not sure, but that would be my guess.
We could always revisit it in another episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm assuming I'm just testing that theory with import intent that might mean import
Sure.
from something else, and if I already have it named that way. But in any case, I have this get location by name. Now, when you're designing the conversational style, you also want to provide what are called sample utterances. But before I even get there, I'm going to do something that's going to seem like, okay, this goes a little outside of the steps, but I think it's important. There's this settings tab, and it's really important early on in the process to avoid any kind of mistakes or hiccups or troubleshooting nightmares to make sure you give this thing a an alias name and also the bot version. So I'm just going to take care of that right now. And
Sure.
this is really helpful for anybody that might be starting this. It's usually good to do right away so that you don't mess up. I'm just going to
Now,
call this one. Oh,
It-
please go ahead.
Yeah, is this only relevant for after you hit the publish button, or is it relevant even before you hit that publish button to have different aliases
It's relevant for before.
before? All right.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. So do you see how I added that?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. So now that I have that, I'm going to go back to that editor and resuming where I left off. I was saying you typically start adding what are called sample utterances. Now, keep in mind, Nick, what we want to do you remember what our scenario is? What's the overall scenario?
We want to track the evangelists on the team, right?
Mhm.
Through our embedded tracking chips,
Exactly.
the one that's
So-
behind my neck.
That's right. So, in a really simple conversational way, if you wanted to know where one of the team members were, what would you probably say?
Where is this team member, or where is person X, right?
I'm agreeing with you. So that's what I would add here. But I tell you what, you said two things that were interesting to me. You said, where's team member or where is person X, right?
Yeah.
See, to me, that little placeholder, team member or person X,
Yep.
what that really comes down to is this thing called slots.
Sure.
So that's really what that's talking about. I like to build my slots first. So I'm going to go into the slot type.
We have a message from MB Hirsch saying that I should try to stump you at some point.
Okay. Let him know. I think you're doing a good job already.
All right. I think he just got that memo when you said it.
Okay. So, so as far as the slot type name, I'm going to put for here, I'm going to put here evangelist as the slot type name, because that's, the person we are tracking. And now next I have these things like slot resolution. Do I want to expand the values or restrict the values? I'm going to talk about restriction first and then expand.
Perfect.
We are going to restrict, which means I'm going to provide a series of values, and those are the only values that are allowed. If anything else is done, it's not acceptable. So, any questions on that?
No, makes sense.
Okay. So the expand values means it's going to kick in a little AI, and it's going to say, okay, yes, you can provide some values, but if the AI thinks that something else that's entered is relatively similar, well, it's going to probably let it through. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
So, but again, I'm going to be strict. I just want the values that we're going to be adding. So as far as those values are concerned, Nick, I'm going to add you since your chip was, I think, one of the more recent ones that were added. So I'm going to place Nick here. Now, that's the value. Now, I can add a synonym as well. And like, how would you spell your full name, Nick?
NICOLAS.
Okay. Have you ever been called anything else?
I think Babs D often refers to me as Code God, but I won't go there.
Okay, so I'll just leave it at that. I might put, but you know what? Just for fun, I think I'm going to add code. I'll put coder here.
All right. It's
Okay.
like, is it going to accept two spaces inside of the text?
So, oh, that's a good question. Do you want me to test that theory?
We can, sure.
Let's do it. Code Lord. Or, oh, no, I'm sorry. I guess it was a deity. So code God.
Sure.
So now we have a variety of ways. So what does this mean? What's your guess what these synonyms really mean?
Alternative ways to say Nick to your chatbot.
That's correct. Could I simply just say Nick?
I believe so.
You're right. I could. But I also could refer to you in these other ways, which is
Sure.
kind of interesting. So I'm going to add that value. So it's down below. I guess there's other people on the team, such as, now I'm just going to nickname him to Jay, but we have Jason. Do you think that's the most common form of spelling Jason?
This Jason was the first time I've ever seen that spelling form.
Me too. I agree. Have you seen it like this before? Just O-N?
Yeah, I have. You could also make it hipster-like and just say JSON. Like JavaScript.
My goodness.
Yeah, there you go.
I promise none of this has been pre-rehearsed. This is kind of crazy, but okay, we're going to do that. I'm going to add that as well. So any of those things will now refer to Jay. Now, for myself, real quickly, I'm just going to put Mike. I'm also Michael. I would say if I am the fourth, so I'm even going to put IV as a value.
There you go.
So either any one of those. Don't want to forget Richard. And I'm at a loss trying to think how to refer to Richard. What's another way to refer to Richard?
I don't know.
Let's just leave that one blank. If it's not Richard, we're not going to get it. Just to demonstrate that you can also have
a
value without a synonym.
We have some suggestions in chat going on. We should either call him Richie or just straight dinosaur. Just dinosaur.
Dinosaur is actually, I'm going to say Dino. How about that for simplicity?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, Dino.
We don't want to say he's an old guy by calling him a dinosaur.
And you know what? I'm even going to create one more, an honorable mention to, I believe it's spelled this way, Shruti.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, I will not add, just so that we could see how it works without a synonym, right?
Perfect.
So everyone has a synonym but Shruti. Okay. We good?
I think we're good. Yeah. Let's try it.
So I'm going to add the slot to the intent. Now, notice what this did. It created this required slot 1. The slot type is the type that we created. And that means it needs to be one of those values. Now, if it's going to prompt us, if we did not provide the value that is required for this thing to work, then we need to prompt the user to give us the name. So what would be a good way to ask for that? You're going to run the show here. What should it be?
You could say, who do you mean? Or who is
Sure.
fine.
Who?
Yeah,
Sure.
go for it. Keep
Yeah.
it short and
Just who?
simple.
Okay. So we've modified that. Okay. Now that we have done this design, we could start to get into our sample utterances because we have a slot one we can refer to. So let me explain by showing, first of all, if someone is kind of lazy and they just want to say where, there, that's all they
Yeah.
say. Now, did we provide any values?
No, we have
No,
no.
no values. But if I say where is, and then using a curly brace, I say slot one, close that curly brace, and then add this. You'll see that that's that's that slot. So where is one of the values from here evangelist, which we created that has all those names. Are you with me so far?
I'm with you. And out of curiosity,
Mhm.
um, first of all, you're able to change the name of slot one, right?
I can. Thank you.
If you were to change it in the slots area,
Mhm.
would it update in your sample utterances as well, or do you have to change them manually in both places?
Great question. So let's go ahead and test that out right now. You're saying if I change it down here,
Yeah, if you want it, because
if I
ideally,
change
I think
this
you'd
to
want
just
it to
like
change
slot
all of them.
first
Yeah,
and then exit out of here, do you see what happened up
it
here?
did. All right, perfect. I honestly wasn't sure. This wasn't staged or
Yeah.
anything. But
Yeah.
if I had a lot of sample utterances, I probably wouldn't want to go through each one of them.
You're right. So isn't that a nice feature that it
It
just
is.
changes right there? So great. I
Yeah,
am keeping it at slot one for a specific purpose, which I shall reveal a little later. But for
sure.
right now, I'll just keep it there. But thanks for asking that question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. So we have gotten to the point where I think it would be good for us to build this, what we have so far. So I'm going to click build. The reason why I'm wanting to do that is I now want to go in and start testing how this is going to work. And how much code have we written so far?
As of right now, we've written no code.
Exactly. There has been not an ounce of code. So when I say I'm testing, what do you think I'm going to be testing when this is finished and ready to go?
Right now, if I had to guess, I'd say you're testing the interaction between the user and strictly Lex, but not Lex and your logic.
Right, because we haven't even defined any logic
Yeah.
yet. Right. So notice that when it says, hey, the here bot build was successful, it automatically expanded this test area so that I could start chatting with the bot. So what was the simplest utterance I could type in here right now?
Where?
You're right. So where, hit enter, and it says who? So Nick, why did it say who?
Because we aren't using a slot in this circumstance, right?
Right. We didn't give our bot all the data it needed. And because slot one is required,
Yeah.
it's now using that prompt that we created called who, and it's saying who. So I'm going to say Nick. And now it says intent get location by name is ready for fulfillment. Slot one, Nick.
So that's what it's interpreting and is getting ready to send to your next layer, correct?
That's right. So for testing purposes, we're getting this nice little piece of detail. So let's see let's continue and try with something along the lines of, oh, I know. How about where is code God?
Oh yeah.
Right?
All right. Yeah. See if the spaces are recognized.
So notice because we provided the slot value right away,
Yeah.
it didn't prompt for who, but we did get, notice the value for slot one is Nick. See, that's an advantage. In your code, you're referring to one specific entity, regardless of how it's called by the user, right? So we could use that one single entity, Nick, in our code and not worry about all the other ways that you might be referred to, such as code God or whatever else that you were called in our slot. But do you see the advantage of that, how it made that connection for you?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So we're still in the testing phase. Let's just try something else, such as in lowercase. Where is Jason? So did case matter, Nick?
It did not matter.
Cool. You have any other questions regarding conversational?
Yeah, what if
Yes.
we try one that's not quite exactly what's in our utterance list? So what if we just say where Michael?
Where Michael? Where forth?
Yeah.
Right. So no is just where IV.
Yeah,
Let's
because
try it.
sometimes when people are chatting with the bots, they tend to get a little lazy in their typing, right? I, for one of them,
Exactly.
am like that.
So as you could see, as it goes with sample utterances, the AI behind it is friendly enough to understand exactly what you said. I think they're a little lazy. Let's just let this one slip.
There you go.
Any other questions?
Not as of yet. I do want to do a time check, so we are at 30 minutes past.
Sounds good. I think we're right where we need to be.
Awesome.
Now, what if Nick, you're the user here and you're starting to get a little lonely?
All right.
And you're like, I have this chatbot. I want to start talking to it. Like, what would be, if you were lonely, what might you start saying to this chatbot?
Chatbot, entertain me.
Okay, entertain me. So notice when I start to go beyond the sample utterances, it knows how polite this is. Sorry, could you please repeat that? So apparently it didn't like what you said. Do you anything else in your lonely state, Nick?
I'm lonely.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else?
Can you help me?
Can you help me? So because now actually that was great that you brought that up. If you wanted your bot to respond to a request for help, you should include that in your sample utterance,
Sure.
right? You should create an intent for that. And we didn't do that in this. But what it's going to do is repeatedly say, no, repeat it until I understand what you're trying to say, right? So just for completion here, I'm going to say, where is, now give me a name of someone that we know is not in the slots.
I don't think you added Peter to the slot. So where's Peter at?
Did not add Peter. I'm going to add Peter right here. Where is Peter? Who? Now, why did it ask me for who? I gave a value.
Not in the list.
Not in the list.
And we're very restricted on the matching right now.
So I want to say, Peter. Maybe if I put it in all caps, that the chat bot will understand me. Who? So it just doesn't work that way.
It recognizes that Peter's asleep behind the wheel right now.
Right. Yep. So Freddie. Now notice what it did here. On the third attempt, it said, I couldn't understand, goodbye, session ended. Okay. All right. Are you prepared for the next level?
I am. What's the next level?
Well, what would you hope the next level would be?
I'd be interested in diving into some code. So defining our logic.
Exactly. So right now in this bot, you'll notice that for the fulfillment of this bot, we have returned the parameters to a client, which is what it's been doing in this chat window. I'll clear that history. But what we really want to do is actually connect it up to an AWS Lambda function.
Now, let me ask you this: is there ever a circumstance where you would want to leave it as return parameters to client, or is that strictly for troubleshooting purposes?
It truly is for troubleshooting purposes within this environment.
Got it. All right, fair enough.
However, this might be related to something I was going to highlight, and that was, if you wanted to use this within an environment like this and access it, where you want this to be part of your application. So Node or iOS, JavaScript, that is provided as well.
Sounds good.
Instead of doing something along the lines of, let me go back over to this screen. There's this channels tab where you can also immediately start to integrate it with things like Slack and Twilio.
Perfect.
But going back to the editor, what we want to do is definitely fulfill the business logic piece with this AWS Lambda function. Those other SDKs are other clients to interact, but they're not the business logic. This is the business logic. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay. So if I click on this and I click the drop-down arrow, do you see where it says Lex Wearbot?
Yeah.
Now, that's because I have cheated. I have already built this Lambda.
Sure.
Now, I am going to select it. But before I use it, I'll say, okay, I'm going to give it permission. But before I officially use it and build this, I would like to dive into what that code looks like. Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me. Let's do it.
All right. So I'm now in Visual Studio Code. I'm wanting to show you some of the major features of the code that has been used inside of that Lambda function.
Now this is plain like Lambda. So this would work regardless on if you were building it for a chat bot, right? This is strictly Lambda stuff, or no?
So in a way, let me explain. In this format, so this is Lambda code running Node.js, right?
Yes.
So in this format response method, notice that my return is a JSON syntax that will be easily recognized as a proper protocol within that chat bot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's a well-defined response type, right?
That's correct. Right. So I don't know if that was referring to what you meant by this is just a plain Lambda. This Lambda is intended to be used within a Lex.
Sure. But as far as the core logic, ignoring the response, everything else is kind of vanilla Lambda.
Yes. Now I understand your question. That's correct. Yeah. Now the next thing is the get trackable person location. In this code here, we reveal that you truly don't have a chip in the back of your neck because we have hard-coded all of those coordinates, and I've provided them here. However, should we one day have a chip in the back of our necks, this code right here could be replaced with a call for that, positioning.
Got it.
You got it? So replace this with positioning code. You got it. All right. Now, I think the core of this particular Lambda is this function, which notice where it says const app ID equals process end app ID, and same for app code.
Yeah.
So what I've done in this Lambda is I've stored those values in environment variables, not directly hard-coded them into the Lambda function.
Got it. And I assume, because I'm not a pro at Lambda, I'm assuming Lambda does some kind of effort to kind of secure anything you add to the environment variables.
Well, there is a way to add them kind of standard, and there's also an encrypted way to do it.
Got it.
In this particular way I did it, I did not encrypt those values.
Got it.
You can if you want to.
Sure.
Now, notice this is where it gets interesting. This intent request is saying with the current intent, let's go to its slots and let's find slot 1 and put it to lowercase.
Is there a reason why it would not be lowercase coming in from Lex?
Because I actually have them in Lex as an uppercase nick for the actual value.
Got it. So it uses what you've included.
Right. I'm just simplifying it just in case, and just making it crystal clear that it's going to be a specific value. But I didn't have to do that if I was going to just maintain that case sensitivity everywhere. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So up here, when I'm asking for Mike, Nick, and Jay, if I wanted to avoid that, I could have just put an uppercase M and J.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Okay. So now all we're doing here is calling our reverse geocoder API. And what this is going to do, and the way that I did it is I wanted to actually get let's see, where is it? Retrieve areas is the mode here. Do you see that highlighted right there?
I see it.
So there's a couple things I could have done. I could have asked for cross streets. I could have asked for an actual address. I could have asked for like just something even at a bigger level, like at a city but I just wanted to retrieve areas, which is kind of like, how would that general area be called wherever these, geolocations are. So I'm just wanted to call that out too.
Got it.
And so with an understanding of that, I say right now we go to the actual Lambda itself and give it a test spin.
Yeah, let's do it.
So in the Lambda management console, this is all the code that we just looked at. If I scroll down, you'll see it's the same code.
Sure.
If I were to expand that out, you'll see it's the same code that we just looked at, right?
I believe you.
And also environment variables are stashed down below here. So that's where you would add them if you're doing, and you can see the encryption configuration if you
Yep,
wanted to
I
take
see it.
advantage of that. But right now, what I'm going to do is showcase that I can configure, I already have one created, but I can configure test events. And this particular JSON is formatted to, again, interact with that Lex service. And you'll notice that I do have slot 1 Nick being passed in.
So this is what Lex would provide Lambda, right? You're kind of mocking it.
That's correct. This is the output from Lex, input into the Lambda.
Got it.
Very good. Thanks. So I'll X out of there, and let's give this thing a test. So I'll scroll to the top, test. It was using Nick, and when I look at the details, South Berkeley. So that's what it means by that general area.
So what if I didn't want to be in South Berkeley?
What do you mean?
What if I wanted to be somewhere else?
Well, like where?
I don't know, maybe Costa Rica.
Okay, well, then let's do something a little different then. Let's go into our code. If you don't want to be, do you happen to have coordinates for Costa Rica? You're going to have to look that up.
Yeah, I'm going to dig it up real quick.
Okay. I'm ready anytime you are.
All right, I have some coordinates for you. You
Okay.
ready?
Yeah.
So this is the latitude, so 9.7489.
Okay.
And then the longitude is going to be 83.7534. And because it's west, it needs to be negative 83.
83 what?
It's 83.7534, and it needs to be negative.
Okay, I got that negative there. And this is Costa Rica?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just change that. So now that we've done that, I'm going to save this.
Yeah, see, in the chat, I have other people saying that they want to be in Costa Rica too. Nobody wants to be over here.
So let's see what happens when we test. Remember, the test that I have configured already has your name, and your name is now associated with Costa Rica. So let's do
Sounds
the test. And we see the results. I like to show them from up here.
Yeah.
There you go. You're there, Nick.
So this uses the here reverse geocoder, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you think is the next logical thing to do now that we know that our business logic is good?
Let's wire it up to Lex.
Let's do that. So going back to Lex, you'll see that I have the Lambda function selected, which is here. When I click that drop down, it's going to look to my environment to see if I have any Lambdas and which one to select. Like I said, I already had created it, but for me to use this properly, I do need to build it.
Sure.
So I'm going to click build. So it's going to do its process. And you recall the last time we did our testing over here, each time we did a test, do you recall what it was returning before?
It was returning kind of like a JSON string almost. It had just the information that it interpreted from our conversation, right?
Yeah. So up here, when I was asking like where Nick, where this, it, like you said, what it gave back was really kind of developer speak type stuff. But now we're going to chat testing in here, but this time it's going to use the business logic that we created in that Lambda function. So I'll type where, it's going to say who, and I'll put Richard. How about Richard? Or Dino.
Let's call it Dino.
Dino for dinosaur. Okay.
Yeah, let's pronounce this Dino.
So as we expect, he's somewhere in Berlin. Which
Got it.
These days isn't usually where he is.
Yeah.
He's traveling all over the place. All right. How about where Jason? So it shows Seattle because that's where I hard coded him. Do you want to still say if you're in Costa Rica?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Where Code God?
Oh, you're still going with that one, huh? I'm never going to hear the end of that.
You're in Costa Rica. That is so awesome. Where Michael? And of course, right there in Phoenix, Arizona.
So let me ask you a question then. So we've seen it with kind of the developer speak. We've seen it with Lambda. I know that coming from experience with Alexa, I'm able to, if I really wanted to, host my code on my own servers and not use Lambda or serverless. Is that an opportunity with Lex as well, or is it strictly Lambda or not?
Lex is strictly Lambda.
Got it.
And while you're mentioning it, all these things that we're doing, which are that conversational UX design facets that we've done here, guess what you can do with this stuff?
I don't know.
You can actually export this definition for use in Alexa as well.
Got it.
So that's kind of nice because it's using that same kind of design language definitions. So your utterances, your slots, and your intents can be ported over if that's something that you want to do. It cannot be shared. I should make that clear. It could be ported over, but then it's its own entity.
Got it.
Okay. Well, I am thoroughly excited that we talked about this. I want to just mention again for reference, where would you go from here, so to speak? Once you have this built, we've been able to test it in this environment. Once again, you could either go to these channels and start to integrate your chatbot into these environments. For example, I have created one for use in Slack. And we have even, we have hosted a tutorial on our website. If you were to search our blogs and look for that, you'd see that there is a, let's chat bot or create a Lex chatbot using Slack. So it shows in there how
do you have your Lexbot inside of our here dev Slack? Is this what I'm getting every time I try to talk to you?
No, it's not in there. It was in a separate instance, but you could, and of course Twilio would be an obvious one. Some might want to choose, but then I just wanted to highlight these resources once again. You could also create your own application to interact with that particular chatbot. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, yes.
Okay. Now that we've discussed all that, Peter, if you're still there somewhere, Peter, I just want to say now would be a good time to showcase. There he is.
I'm here.
Yes, we knew you had not abandoned us. Now would be a great time. Along. I want you to post that link, if you don't mind, to the workshop, which I'm going to put here on the screen. We just released this workshop at our GitHub location for Here Maps. And everything that you have seen done in this episode, you can duplicate yourself.
Awesome.
We talk about the prerequisites. And then we go in and we talk about the design. And what I think is important about the design aspect is that you could go through these step-by-step instructions. Everything that you'll probably notice that we did is all explained with more details. So you could take your time understanding how to design that conversational UI, how to add these particular values. Now, we went a little above and beyond than what you see on the screen, but that was kind of fun to do. Nick was challenging me as Hirsch was trying to get him to do. And even the things like these various tests, where is Michael, or where is Fred if Fred isn't something that's available. So you can use this at your own convenience. We even have and this is a really important point, I had already created the Lambda, but if you want step-by-step instructions for how to do it yourself, we walk through the process of creating your own node package to upload into the AWS console. We provide all the text you need. In fact, if you expand the index JSON file, there's all the code that we talked about before.
Looks
literally
pretty good.
Copy, paste it, makes it so simple. We wanted to make it as easy as possible for developers to replicate this experience that you've had on this first episode. So I have nothing else to show in terms of screen.
Yeah. So then let's do our outro logistics here. So this episode, you can actually view it on demand directly on Twitch, but it's also going to be uploaded to YouTube in about a week. So you can catch it there with any other videos that we might have done on the Twitch as well, since Twitch does expire the videos after a certain amount of time.
It's 2 weeks.
It's 2 weeks? All right,
Yep.
awesome. In regards to questions, if you still have questions, I strongly encourage you to join our Slack channel. So we can actually get Nightbot and Peter to add it to the screen. But join our Slack channel, ask us questions, get involved. We'd love to have you there. Our next episode for AWS Connections is going to be on May 15th. I believe that's also a Wednesday. So same kind of thing. But this time it's actually going to be on SageMaker. So I don't know if Michael wants to give any kind of sneak preview on what he's going to cover.
I'm really excited about this because we're going to be showcasing and actually bringing also to the table one of our experts in machine learning and discuss how you could use location services within a SageMaker environment. He'll already have a trained model, and then we're going to see how to use that trained model to do a data analysis, a pretty cool visualization that will appear in our product XYZ.
That sounds pretty awesome. And we actually did do an XYZ stream a while back, which is on YouTube, right, Peter? Or am I making stuff up?
That's on YouTube.
Awesome.
And I can put the YouTube link in chat too.
Awesome. Yeah. So right now I do want to open up to any shameless plugs for anyone who's on the chat. So if anyone's got a shameless plug, now is your chance. Do you have any shameless plugs, Michael?
I don't. This was my one true passion today to get out there. And that Lex workshop, that's my shameless plug. Go have fun. If you haven't done a chatbot before, they're really fun to build and design. It's really easy to start going beyond the instructions and adding your own stuff. So I hope you really enjoy that.
Awesome. Mallory Lux just said that there's an Alexa webinar coming up. Do we have the date on that, Mallory?
Who's in that one?
That is a good question as well. Is that
It's me.
It's not me.
Is it?
Yeah. So I'll be leaving the comforts of my Phoenix office, traveling to Seattle. I believe that one, and Mallory can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that's May 22nd.
Got it.
And that is going to be hosted by Amazon. So it's not a webinar of ours. It's a webinar that Amazon's doing. And we're going to be talking about location terms within a voice user interface.
Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. In regards to the future episodes and this channel on Twitch in general, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to our channel, and
Just to
on
follow, Nick.
Yeah. Oh, is it
Just to
follow?
follow.
It's not subscribe. I'm thinking of different
thinking
brands
YouTube.
here. I'm thinking of
Yeah.
YouTube. Yeah. So follow the channel. Enable those notifications. You'll get a memo as we go live. So that way you never miss an episode. Anything else, Michael, that you want to share?
No, just had a blast. Obviously, you guys are pros at this whole Twitch TV thing. Thank you for helping today. I really enjoyed this. Again, keep the communication lines open. For example, if you do have any of those other questions, you should reach out to us either on Twitter or that Slack channel.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in.
All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.